CSC, okay. And so if we take the example of UK, how much visa do you think they issue every year? How much is done internally? How much is outsourced? And within the outsourced part, how much is done by VFS versus how much is done by other players like CSC?
There are certain categories of visas that the UK government handles directly. So if you leave aside those visas, out of the balance, I would say 55% of the total visas. I think the UK government overall issues about 5.5 million visas, out of which 55%, which is roughly about 2.5 million, is with VFS, and the balance is with CST.
Okay, so it's a 50-50.
It's a 45-55 kind of a split.
Okay.
CST is very active in the American continent, which is both Latin and Central America and Mexico.
So they do US, Mexico, okay. So
yeah.
all people...
Not so much in the US. Yeah, US you don't need a visa, so it's not so... Yeah.
So it's Mexico and LATAM.
Mexico and LATAM, that's right.
Okay, clear. How do you think, especially for VFS, how should we forecast this 2.5 million, for instance? I mean, do you think that there is a risk of e-visas? Do you think how fast is growing the underlying demand for visas? Do you think they should gain or lose market share? Just to have a sense on this specific case of, how things could evolve in the future.
This market is, I think, a little inelastic. It's not. I don't think it's gonna grow much because, this is a long-term contract. The UK government typically signs a 3-year contract, which is extendable by another 2 years and 2 years. So it's 3 plus 2 plus 2. So typically the contracts are 3 years plus 2 years plus 2 years. Right?
Okay.
And, the growth in the market is not much because I think there are quite a few restrictions coming from the UK government on people traveling to the UK. So, the 2.5 million kind of a market that VFS has got with UK government, that might see a fairly stable or a very slow growth. I don't think it will grow rapidly or very high.
Okay, and you think VFS will maintain their market share in the UK?
Yes, in fact, the VFS market share has come down because earlier the UK government had outsourced. Earlier, VFS I think was processing close to 3.5-4 million visas about 7-8 years ago, right? And the UK government did not want to tie itself into one large company. So they wanted to de-risk their entire processing exposure. So that's why they have brought in 2 companies and made sure that both the companies have a more or less equal split. Earlier, VFS share was about 60 or 65% or maybe even 30% of the UK visa market.
Okay, and as the UK, do you think there is a risk in the future that the UK will do e-visas, for instance, and that the share of the cake for the third-party companies will decrease, or do you think that it will remain stable for this case of UK?
I'm not sure if the UK government is looking at any kind of a e-visa program because they would continue to outsource their visa processing across multiple countries simply because their visa regulations are fairly complex, and I think it varies from country to country. So they are not working on any system which will lead to higher degree of involvement of the government. Or it also means that they have to make a lot of investments in the processing as well as in the computing powers in their own home country, which is in the UK, in Britain. And they have not yet done anything of the kind. So I think they're very comfortable with the outsourcing concept. They would want to continue with this because to them it is a means of reducing their costs, the means of reducing their headcount and so on. So I don't think they would want to increase their cost base within the UK.
Okay, clear. So basically what we can say for the UK is that you expect VFS market share to remain stable. You expect the underlying outsourced volume